What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Now, as you can tell by the title of this video, this first story is absolutely mind-blowing. All I'm going to say is just prepare yourselves, sit back, relax, listen, because it's mental. Here we go. So what, my kid almost burned down your house? He was just having fun. This story may need some background. It was Thanksgiving of 2019. A lot of people had shown up. Many relatives, their kids, in general, everyone was having a good time. But there was one aunt that no one liked. If you stood next to her, you could probably see entitlement dripping off of her. Nobody had invited her to any family occasion since she threw a tantrum. Yes, a 24-year-old woman at the time threw a tantrum because she was not included in my late grandpa's will. She was your typical Karen with the vaccines cause autism, don't trust medicine sort of rubbish. So, dinner has been served. Everyone is eating and in general having a great time. The kids are at the children table in the kitchen, while the adults and some of the older and more mature kids and teens are in the living room. After about 20 minutes after we start eating, we hear screams. My cousin and I jump up and rush to the kitchen, the origin of the screams. Now the kids are running out of there left, right and centre. The scene in there is chaos. There were sticks on the ground, marshmallows strewn everywhere. There is a towel on fire and there are sticks burning on the stove, and just like that, the fire alarm went off. My dad said, "Stand back." With a fire extinguisher, he most likely saved our house. So, after rounding up about 7 kids, we got to cracking, figuring out what had happened, although it was pretty clear. My grandma said, "So, what happened here?" My first cousin said, "Well, we were eating when the entitled kid, who is the son of the entitled aunt, said we should roast marshmallows. We'll call this guy cousin 2. My stick started to burn, so I dropped it on the stove by accident. Then the entitled kid got a towel to try and fan out the flames, which also caught on fire. Then my third cousin screamed, which brought everyone in here." Everyone now looks at the entitled kid, and my grandma says, "Do you have anything to say?" looking at the entitled mum. "What's wrong? He was just having fun. Plus, nothing serious happened." "Nothing serious happened? Your child nearly burned your sister's house to the ground." "Exactly. Nearly. So, are you going to apologise or not?" "Apologise for what? He's a kid." My grandma then proceeded to kick her out with a few swear words for the road. Honestly, she and her kid ruined our whole Thanksgiving. After we had finished with the whole ordeal, the food was quite cold. Quite a lot of family members proceeded to then cut her out of their lives. The last I heard of her was in March this year, when she somehow found my social media accounts and came to beg me to ask my mum to get her some money. I promptly proceeded to block her. Well, yeah, OP, that is quite clearly the smart decision. I'm not completely sure how a kid can think to themselves, "Oh yeah, you know what would be fun? You know what would be a great idea? Roasting marshmallows on the stove." I mean, inside. How stupid can you be? I mean, fair enough, but I don't particularly blame the kid, although I do blame the entitled aunt for not taking some of the blame and saying, "You know what, yeah, that was a big mistake from my kid. I'm going to go and discipline them and say, you know, you probably shouldn't try and start fires inside the house, you idiot." But no, the lack of taking the blame there is absolutely incredible. And yeah, as I said, I'm not surprised that you will cut ties with her. Wonderful decision. I would definitely do the same in that situation. Guys, would you? Comment down below. I mean, like, seriously, guys, what was she thinking? Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, he nearly set the place on fire, but who cares? We're all having fun. It's Thanksgiving. Everyone just, you know, relax a little bit. Your house is fine. It wasn't just a few seconds away if your dad wasn't there from burning up on fire, but hey, let's all just relax. Now moving on to our second story. Entitled mum thinks her kid shouldn't have to pick up after their dog, relents and then steals from us. So this happened at the last apartment complex I lived in. My SO and I were renting a ground floor unit at a really nice apartment complex. I wouldn't say it was a luxury apartment or anything, but our ground floor unit had a little patio off the back that led out into a really nice courtyard area with hammocks, a walking path, outdoor fireplace, seating area, etc. A lot of people walk their dogs out there or let their kids play out in the grass, including us. We have a 1-year-old cane Corso. We got her when we'd been living in the unit for about 2.5 months, and she was only 8 weeks at the time. She's a really good dog and we trained her well. We could let her out to go potty and she'd come right back, even if there were distractions, people, dogs out. We always stood in the patio and watched her anyways, because our pet agreement said we couldn't leave our dog unattended. Then we'd go pick up her poop right away if she pooped. Also part of the pet agreement, as I'm sure is standard at most apartment complexes. We kept a small step trash can outside, specifically for her poop bags, because we didn't want to throw them away inside, and the only outside trash cans were on the other side of the building, which I agree is super dumb. It really was a small trash can, like the kind you tuck into the bathroom between the toilet and the wall. We also had her poop bags hanging on our patio door handle for easy access, so we didn't have to hunt for them every time we needed them. An entitled mum and her entitled kid moved in on the ground floor in our building, 2 units down from us, no biggie. We ran into her one day carrying groceries, and my SO held open the door for her. She seemed kind of Karenish but was polite, and her kid, probably 10 to 11 years old, didn't look up from his phone. Whatever, that's pretty typical of kids these days. Now, they also had a dog, a little black and white fluffy thing, super cute but not trained very well. I don't know what kind of dog, but it was much smaller than our already giant puppy. After about 2 weeks or so, we realised that there were dog turds in the grass right off our patio. We found out the hard way because my boyfriend stepped in it the first time. Luckily, he wasn't barefoot. They were clearly not our dog's turds, as 1, we always picked up her poop right after she went, and 2, they were obviously from a small dog, not our 70-pound puppy. We'd been in the apartment about 7 to 8 months at this point, and had never had an issue with this, so we figured it must have been the entitled mum's little dog. I wrote her a polite note that was basically saying, "Hey neighbour, we noticed that some of your dog's poops aren't being picked up and are right off our patio. Per the pet agreement we all have to sign, we all need to be picking up our dog's poop each time they go. I'm sure it was an accident and you just didn't notice, so if you could make sure to do that going forward, we'd appreciate it. Your neighbours in Unit X." Now, she wasn't home, so I slipped it under the door and went back to my apartment. A couple hours later, the entitled mum is banging on my door and gets really angry with me. She insists that it couldn't have been her dog, and how dare I assume that? Now, I felt really bad and I apologised immediately. I said I didn't mean to offend her and it must have been someone else. She told me never to bother her with rubbish like this again, and she stormed off. I was like, okay. Not 3 days later, I was sitting on my patio with a book enjoying the cool weather when I see their little dog run out of their back door, no one with it, and it comes over to me. I said hello to the pup because I love pups, and then it took a poop right off the patio, ran back home and scratched the door to be let in. I saw the entitled kid slide the door open enough to let the dog in, and then he closed it again without coming outside to pick up the poop. I was annoyed because here I saw it with my own eyes. It was their dog, and no one was even watching it when it was outside. So I grabbed a poop bag, picked up the poop, wrote another less polite note about the entitled mum's kid neglecting to watch the dog or come to check it if it had pooped or pick up after it, and dropped the poop bag and the note on their patio right by the door, then went back to my reading. The entitled mum was quicker to come by this time and stomped right up to me, waving the note around. Then she stated that her kid was just a kid and probably just forgot to check it. I said I didn't care. Her kid was old enough to stand outside for 3 minutes and come pick up the dog's poop. She said, well, there's no poop bags or trash cans on this side of the building, and she didn't feel comfortable making her kid walk all the way around the building for that. The next part is my own fault in hindsight. I suggested she put a trash can like mine on her patio and leave their own poop bags handy, like we do for our dog. She eyed our stuff, huffed some more, rolled her eyes, refused to do anything about the poop, and walked off. Now, at this point, I was super annoyed. I stalked my patio door for the next couple days as much as I could, just waiting. And sure enough, on day 2 in the evening, when I was about to give up, I see the puppy run outside towards my patio. I whipped out my phone, took some pictures of the dog outside alone, which is not allowed, and the dog pooping, and then took another photo an hour later of the poop still there, and timestamped all of them. Then I sent an email to the apartment office people, who were always pretty nice, and they responded quickly that they would give the entitled mum a warning about it. And sure enough, the entitled mum comes back again to get mad and yell at me about how petty I was to report them to the office, and now they had a $150 fine for not picking up their dog poop. It's worth noting that these fines were rare. poo prints were not used at this complex. In order for the office to find someone for dog poop, they had to have proof it was that specific tenant's dog poop and that it wasn't picked up, hence the photos I'd taken and timestamped. I told her that I tried to be nice about it with her twice before, and it was her own fault at that point for not abiding by the terms of the pet agreement we all had to sign, everyone who had a dog at least. She went off about how she's a single mum and she works during the day and her precious baby can't be expected to pick up after their dog. I told her that a 10-11-year-old was plenty old enough to pick up after a dog, and that if they weren't responsible enough, then maybe the kid shouldn't be letting the dog out at all, and she should be the one to do it, and maybe whoever is home with him should be looking after it. Now, she got angry, told me I had no idea how to be a single mum, that her mum stays with him during the day and shouldn't be expected to look after her kid and her dog, and she stomped off again. Now, I expected to hear more about it, but I didn't. The ironic part is I am a single mum. My kid isn't my SO's, and I raised him alone for 2.5 years before I met my SO. So yes, I do know how hard it is, and I live 1,000 miles from my closest family, so I never even had the luxury of being able to have my mum watch my kid. Over the next couple of weeks, we didn't find any more dog turds off our patio, but we did notice our poop bags were depleting and our trash can filling up way more quickly than usual. I had my suspicions and wanted to test it. We had recently bought some small security cameras for inside of our apartment for different reasons, and I had my boyfriend set up one outside on the patio. We faced it where it could see our door and trash can, but didn't point to the rest of the courtyard or other people's units. We respect privacy around here. Sure enough, the same evening my boyfriend set it up, I see the entitled kid walk onto our patio, take a poop bag, walk out of frame, and then come back to throw it in our trash can. Okay, now I'm fuming, but also not trying to fight this lady or her kid. So I moved the poop bags to the inside door handle. It's a glass door so you can still see them, but we always lock our sliding door. The next morning, I hear someone knocking on the back patio door, and I go to see the entitled kid standing there looking annoyed. I didn't open the door, I just spoke loudly enough to ask what did he need. He demanded a poop bag for his dog poop. Now I said, I'm sorry, but these are our poop bags for our dog and they weren't free for anyone else to use. The apartment provides poop bags in a dispenser near the trash can on the other side of the building. The kid started demanding a poop bag, saying his mum told him he could use ours, slapping his hands on the glass a few times. Trying to scare me? Yes, I'm terrified of a 10-year-old boy. And finally, screaming at me that he's telling his mother on me. I said, fine, go ahead, and I'll tell her the same thing. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the entitled mum is standing on my patio, also demanding a poop bag for her dog's poop. I denied her a bag and asked her to please step off my patio as she was making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. My SO wasn't home at this time. She told me that I was a bratty child, I'm 24 by the way, and she demanded I let her use my poop bags as I had already told her she could before. I said, no, I told you to get some yourself and do what I do. Keep them close by and put your own trash can on your patio, not use the bags I buy with my own money for my own dog and then fill up my tiny trash can with your dog's poop. I pointed out she could use a plastic shopping bag if she didn't want to buy her own poop bags, or she could use the bags the complex provided on the other side of the building. She kept going off on me, and I finally told her if she didn't leave my patio, I'd call the police, as at this point she was harassing me. The apartment office was closed on Sundays, and of course this happened on a Sunday. She acted like she was going to call my bluff, but then my boyfriend got home and walked up behind me to ask what was going on, and she ended up dragging her kid away, again leaving the poop in the grass off my patio. So, once she was gone, I took another timestamp picture of the dog poop, downloaded the footage from my security camera of her kid stealing my poop bags and throwing them in my trash can, and the footage from them that morning yelling at me and demanding my bags and me denying them, and I emailed all of this to the apartment management. I told them that she made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable in my own home, that she and her child felt entitled to come onto my patio and take my belongings. I also went outside, picked up her dog's poop, looked in the trash can on my patio and pulled out the bags with her dog's poop. They were significantly smaller than my dog's poops, as I'm sure any dog owners could tell the difference in poops of a £12 dog versus a £70 dog. I went and opened all the bags and dumped the poops straight on her patio right outside the door. Oh, I love it. Oh my god. On Monday, I heard back from the office lady who said she would take care of it. By Friday, there was a moving truck and the entitled mum and her entitled kid were moving out. I'm pretty sure they were evicted. After talking to some of our other, much friendlier neighbours, it turns out we weren't the only ones who had been complaining about her. They'd only lived in the complex for like 2 to 3 months before they made so many enemies they were kicked out. Sometimes I think I should feel bad for playing a part in them getting evicted, but honestly, I can't bring myself to feel guilty about it. It's not my fault she was a lazy, entitled female dog who couldn't even be bothered to get a shopping bag to pick up her dog's poop. I never heard from her about the turds I dropped on her patio, but I like to think she stepped in them without looking and knew better than to come to me to complain about it. Sorry, not sorry. Also, I'm sure they were given more than a week to vacate, as those are the tenancy laws here, but she packed up and left like a bat out of heck. I guess she didn't want to stay somewhere she was clearly seen as an enemy. Well, there you go, another absolutely insane story, and to be honest guys, I completely agree, as I'm sure the majority of you do too, with everything that OP did in this story. I mean, from the very beginning, I was on her side, clearly, and at the end, yeah, I think it was all fine. My favourite part, by a country mile, quite obviously, is the part where OP took all the poops from her neighbour's dog, the entitled mum's dog, and then just emptied them out onto her patio. That is so good. I really, as OP said, I really hope that she did step in them. That would be the ultimate karma. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit too much. Well, no, it's not. I mean, what I'm trying to say is it's a little bit... It was unnecessary, but it was so petty that I love it. So it was worth it. I love when, you get entitled parent stories that have that little bit of revenge in them as well. So perfect. I mean, let's be honest. It's a pretty horrible thing to do when you have a dog, to just let them poo wherever they want and then not pick it up. Especially when you're in a neighborhood where the rules say that if you have a dog, you need to, there are rules for having a dog. Come on. And then there are also morals for having a dog. If you have a dog, you have to pick up their poop. Come on, that's ridiculous. I mean, I think of the neighbours here. You're living in some complex with multiple other people. Everyone's annoyed at you. I wonder why. Yeah, you've got to think about that to yourself for a second. Think why is everyone annoyed at me? And then when OP says at the end that she probably thinks that the entitled mum didn't want to live in a place where everyone thinks of her as the enemy, well, if you're leaving your dog on their own and allowing it to poop anywhere and not picking it up, when there are specific rules that say that you can't do that, and obviously specific morals and ethics that say that as a human you shouldn't let your dog do that in other people's yards, then yeah, you're going to be the enemy of everyone, of course. What are you expecting, woman? Anyway, guys, that is going to be the end of this Entitled Parents episode. If you have enjoyed it and you want more Entitled Parent stories, click on this playlist right now to watch loads more. And also remember to subscribe to the channel if you are new, just over here. Click that little button with notifications on. Very important. Notification gang, squad, you are my core fans. You are always there when I post every single video in the first minute, and I love you for it. So yeah, if you aren't already, guys, subscribe with notifications on and join the notification squad. I'll see you all tomorrow, same time, same place, with a brand new video.